Good morning, and welcome to Redeemer Lutheran Church. I'm Pastor Gary Lodeholt. So this will be attempt number 2. I had lots of comments that there was no sound last time, so we'll try it again. And somebody please give me a thumbs up, and I'll try to keep my eye on the comments to make sure we've got sound this time. I'm sure you have experienced the same thing I have so many times, and my mouth waters just thinking about it. Maybe you were camping and were on a walk around the campground late in the day, or maybe it's a late afternoon on a weekend at your house and you walk out into the yard. Suddenly, your nostrils pick up a scent of someone grilling out. It's unmistakable and it's alluring. Maybe you look for the smoke to see who it is. Somewhere inside, that aroma stirs pleasant feelings and maybe some jealous hunger pains. It's hard to imagine a more pleasing aroma than cooking meat. This week I've decided to attempt to share with you some limited information about sacrifices and the Bible. Now, certainly there are places in the Bible where we could find all sorts of rules and regulations and stipulations for how all these sacrifices were to be done, but I don't want us to get lost in all that minutia. So my plan is to talk about the different kinds of sacrifices, what they were for, and maybe just a little bit about how they were done. Today, our subject relates to that neighbor of yours cooking on his grill and filling the neighborhood with that pleasant aroma. Today we're going to talk about burnt offerings. A burnt offering, also called an Olah, was a sacrifice in which an animal or bird was slain, skinned, and cleaned as if for a meal, and then burned completely on the altar. This act represented a complete dedication and surrender to God, often symbolizing the person's commitment to obeying God and recognizing God's love. The entire animal was consumed by fire, with no part of it being eaten, emphasizing a total offering to God. Later in this week, we will see that some sacrifices involved keeping some for the priests and their families to eat, but that wasn't true of the burnt offering. All of the burnt offering was given to God. Before we get into a little bit more about the burnt offering, we need to say that the animals offered in these sacrifices needed to be perfect, without defect or blemish. That's one way of saying that you aren't giving God your leftovers. You are giving God your best. Now, not everyone had animals like that, and so a thriving trade grew up in the temple where you could purchase such an animal right there in the temple grounds to use in the sacrifice. The temple also had its own currency. And in order to purchase one of the animals, you had to use temple currency. And when Jesus overturns the tables of the money changers, that's what they were doing. They were changing regular shekels to temple currency and were part of all this and helping people get their animals for sacrifice. The purpose of the burnt offering was to atone for sin and show devotion to God. Typically a bull, sheep, or goat was offered, but doves or pigeons could be used as well. These kinds of animals were real sacrifices in those days. Food was much more difficult to come by then. Sacrificing a bull, for example, could mean depriving yourself and your family of a lot of food. What's more, bulls were used to pull plows, and giving one up could be a real sacrifice. Typically, bulls were used by the wealthy or in specific, special religious events. Sheep and goats were more common, but even these were sacrifices. Think of the food, the wool, the milk, the cheese those animals provided. To give one of those up was a sign of your devotion to God, a sign of wanting to be near God. What happened in the burnt offering was that the animal was killed, its blood sprinkled on the altar, and then the entire body, including the head and fat, was burned on the altar. The burning of the entire animal represented a complete surrender of oneself to God, a recognition of his love and a desire to please God. Then, finally, we come to the part about your neighbor grilling out. The Bible describes burnt offerings as a sweet aroma to the Lord, highlighting the pleasing nature of this act to God. As the smoke and smell drifted heavenward, it was thought that the smell would be pleasing to God, who would then look on you in favor. The burnt offering was the holiest of all the sacrifices. The thing was, if a sacrifice was to be done the right way, it had to be freely given, along with a sense of repentance for what you had done. The Bible is full of God raging about people making sacrifices for show with their hearts far from God. The next time you grill out, or a neighbor does, and you smell that pleasing aroma, maybe you could think about drawing near to God. Oh, and don't forget to invite me over. Thanks for watching, and remember to let this day belong to God.